Pregame.tv, total loser, Cincinnati Bengals. Something strange is going on in the Queen City. The Bengals, back-to-back playoff appearances, 2-0 in preseason. They're rolling under Andy Dalton. Lots of skilled players, position players, lots of young talent. They're 2-0. They head to the Dallas Cowboys, 1-2 in preseason. Bengals are getting 2.5 to 3 points. Should be a very good matchup. VR, and I might have a difference in opinion on this one. But let's go ahead and start with Bryan Leonard. What are your thoughts on this one?
My thoughts on this one is the way you base your picks on cities you don't want to live in. I know you're not on the Cincinnati Bengals here, because why would anybody want to live in Cincinnati? But I actually like Cincinnati, although they do roll up the sidewalks at 5 p.m. or whatever. But it's a nice town, good baseball stadium, and it's
his kind of place.
Having grown up in Ohio, I have to say that if I had number one city and suburbs, I would pick Cincinnati.
Yeah, I like Cincinnati.
And then if I had to go number two,
Dallas.
In Ohio. Dallas would be number. Dallas would beat.
Why wouldn't you want to go to Dallas? Yeah, exactly.
But number two, I would probably go ahead, and I'm biased. I don't know. There's every other city is way far behind. Columbus is a cow town, and Cleveland's a little bit just too much like
Cleveland,
Detroit. So I haven't been to Toledo, and I like Dayton. It's a nice, but they're kind of like a Cincinnati suburb. So I like that Southern Ohio.
Luckily, some of those teams don't have NFL. Some of the cities.
The Dayton Dragons is like the best baseball venue in the entire country for minor leagues. Definitely check it out one day if you're stranded in Dayton, Ohio. Have some Marion's Pizza. But we digress. The Dallas Cowboys, no home field advantage. So we talked about that. Okay, they get 1.5 points for that big stadium. Everyone does the golf clap when they do something right. They have not. We've been down on Dallas at home. Obviously, a lot of pressure for them to win during the regular season. Bengals are just rolling right now. You could make the case for you should fade 2-0 teams in preseason, right, Brian?
Well, normally I'd like to go try to look into what they've got to prove. In another video, we talked about working on offense and defense. We got a team in Cincinnati. I mean, Steve and I are running around town. I've seen them at a few sports books checking these over-unders and season wins. A lot of money's coming on Cincinnati and Cleveland and those type of teams the last few weeks.
Both of them moving up. Cleveland from 6 to 6.5. Bengals from 8.5 moving up to 9.
Yep.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of money coming on Cincinnati. You have to wonder, are they happy where they're at? I mean, this is a team that's played very well the last couple of years. There's actually talk that they're going to win that division this year. A lot of people think that that's the team to beat. They're sort of a sweetheart deal in the national press. I mean, starting the season 2-0, I believe they have a television show.
Hard Knocks.
I'm too cheap to buy HBO, but I hear they're on HBO with a TV show.
Yes, they are.
You've got HBO.
Of course you do.
VR, what do you think?
Listen, before we get too excited, they played Atlanta and Tennessee. We just talked about Tennessee, and we talked about Atlanta. So
Tennessee wants to win, though.
They do. But them winning those games by combined 32 points, before we start measuring their ring finger for a Super Bowl ring, let's slow down. They're still the Cincinnati Bengals. They still got to get past teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers in that division, which I know I'm high on. I know you're high on.
High in both of them.
Right. With that said, there's a lot of momentum with Cincinnati right now. Coming off last season, most professional bettors, I remember at the start of last year, were expecting a regression about the trend. Cincinnati never 2 winning seasons and all that talk back.
Roller coaster.
Exactly. And because of that, I think they were undervalued in the betting market. You were able to bet Cincinnati last year. You were able to make money. Now, with season win total going up, with Hard Knocks, with all that hype, I don't think they're going to be undervalued in the betting market. They may have a good record again, but I don't think they're going to have as good of a record ATS.
Look what happened against the Bears week 1. They're getting 3.5 to 4. Blink, that line's 3, and they will be cutting in the line, like you're saying, to take these Bengals at 3. When that game drops down to 2.5, 2, all the value will be sucked out.
And that's what I think is going to happen with Cincinnati this season. So I'm in no rush to get my money on the Bengals during the year. With that said, again, I like what I'm seeing with them. But listen, I don't want to go against Dallas in this spot for one reason only. I went against Dallas last week against Arizona. Remember I told you the week 2 thing, you sit back week 1. I even and you pick your spots in week 2.
Dallas dominated that game statistically.
Yes, and this was one of the plays that the female that unloads in week 2 said, Arizona.
The female unloads.
Bet them till you run out of money.
Normally the male unloads.
Usually the male, but this time it was the female that absolutely unloaded.
They bet a lot more.
Exactly. Unload till you run out of money. Till you run out of money. I followed.
Another one of these Maryland Chambers, not on you just sit down and relax.
I had Arizona, and what I saw from Dallas was that I thought, watching that game, that it was this week that they're going to treat kind of like their important game. That's why I'm afraid to fade them here, because if you look at Dallas, they have not played at home yet in this preseason. This is their 4th game. They played the Hall of Fame game, and they played 2 road games. I think this is the game that Dallas, if they're going to show up in preseason, I think this is the week you're going to see Dallas.
They're tired.
It wasn't last week.
They're tired.
No. If you saw Romo barely played, I mean, what did he have, 10 attempts?
There's so much pressure on Dallas at this point because that's a team, the America's team, have a lot of talent. My question is it important for them to win this game, or is it?
I think it is.
The regular season is so much more important.
It is. It is. But all the talk of how bad they played at home, it's not like this team got to the NFC Championship last year. I mean, there's pressure for them to win. Even when you build that kind of stadium, you need to win football games. I think
not really.
I think the pressure's on Dallas to always win. Any negativity towards the Cowboys is not a good thing.
I'm going to come over the top.
And look at Cincinnati. After Dalton, what do they have? Skelton.
Skelton was like a starting quarterback.
He's very similar to that Fitzgerald.
Starting.
Played for both.
No. Here's the difference. Skelton, 17 starts in 3 years, never completed more than 55% of his passes.
And maybe Josh Johnson will do better.
Okay, Josh Johnson, 5 starts in 6 years, 4 different teams in 6 years. There's a reason
they're playing
he's been in the league for 6 years, and he's in his fourth team.
He's collecting different jerseys.
Yeah. So there's a reason.
But let me go back to the pressure being on Dallas to win. I'm gonna make a counter argument that the Dallas Cowboys are becoming the Chicago Cubs, an extremely profitable group of losers. That the organization's gone up from $140 million in value to, I believe, currently $2 billion. So Jerry Jones, very rich man with these Cowboys.
Agree.
Even though they never win. How loyal is this fan base? These people love their Cowboys, win or lose.
I agree.
It's interesting. I was listening to Colin Cowherd, who's a big fan of pregame, I believe.
And I believe I got my views exactly from. Now, to be fair, I am plagiarizing from Colin because I listen to Colin all the time. I don't remember him necessarily saying exactly those words, but I'm sure that I got that from Colin, one of my favorite guys to absolutely listen to every morning.
Yeah, basically it was, I can't remember the name of the college, that they did something where they took a look at basically all the teams and all the teams in all the sports and which teams had the most loyalty. And for some reason, I don't know the parameters, but it came up with the Dallas Cowboys.
Cowboys, I agree.
The Cubs. Colin's right. They're like super loyal fans. I mean, they wouldn't stand for this nonsense in, say, I'm trying to think where, Atlanta. Can you imagine? It'd be just
I like what I've seen from that Alex Tanney kid, the Monmouth College quarterback. He's done well. They're excited about him. I mean, obviously.
Here's where I'm going with this one.
And Kyle Wharton, you got a veteran backup. I don't know. I'm afraid to go against the Cowboys at home in this.
I love the trend.
And I love fading the Cowboys.
The trend nobody knows about, where you take the 2-0 team in preseason, okay? And they're getting points. They got to be getting points. And then it's the whole, wait a minute, we're getting no credit, we're playing great. They see these point spreads. And you would think that they would, we're 2-0, we're fat, drunk, and happy. But if they're getting points, they get all really amped up that they want to play.
And it's Dallas. They want to beat Dallas.
And they
I
want
agree.
it. And the reason that the 2-0 teams do well in this situation, and I've thought about this, it's because when you're 1-0, you should tank the next week. And when you don't tank,
then you got to keep it going.
Well, that means you want to win all preseason.
Yeah.
Because if you really didn't care, you would have lost week two after winning the week one.
Doing damage in week one. No, I agree. I'm not going to rush out. I'm no rush to bet the Cowboys, but I just think it's gotten to a point right now. If you look at the point spreads for week 3, that you got to be getting some kind of line value.
Well, I'm
Dallas down to 2.5 now. What
Well,
is it?
I grabbed the 3.
Yeah.
So, and there's still 3s out there.
I do want to point out something you just said. I don't think any team is tanking in weeks 1 and 2 because you've got a lot of guys playing for their
They're
lives.
jibes. Yeah, they're
So
jibes.
it's not
No, the
that's-
starters
You don't.
don't.
Well, I was going to say
starters
you
don't
don't. You don't get a lot of starter minutes in the first two weeks. Although this year, because once again the collective bargaining agreement, starters seem to play a little bit.
I mean, look at the
longer.
Cowboys when they played the Raiders. Do you think the Raiders could beat the Cowboys if Dallas wanted to win that game? You know, that was
I agree.
not that big a deal. Let me go ahead and make it official. Let's utilize some information from the great Colin Cowherd, who I got to go ahead and meet. He says Dallas is no longer relevant. They are an average NFL team, but they got great fans because they support that team, just like the Chicago Cubs. I agree with him. I think that in that stadium, we've talked about how the home field edge there is not what it once was, or what it was expected to be, and it's really only worth a point to point and a half. They need to win. This team needs to win during the regular season, and here's my ace in the hole. Where are the cards? Where are the cards?
Where are the
No more cards.
Darn it.
Where's the deck?
No cards.
There they are.
We'll bring the dominoes next. Bryan Leonard said, bring dominoes next time. And immediately, Brian, I'm sorry. I thought of Domino's Pizza. I'm sorry. But I'm
hungry,
Which
too.
they just had recently. The Bengals last year had a great season, but at the end of the year, they completely outplayed these Cowboys in December at home. And they somehow lost the game 20-19. I have no idea how, because they dominated that game. I have a revenge factor in this game as well. They were not happy about losing that game. That is where I'm going here, and I think it's enough extra incentive to go ahead and make a play. Grab the hook. Bengals +3.
You sold me. You sold me.
You're using a revenge factor in preseason football.
Late in the year, and it was a key loss to the Bengals, knocked them out of any chance to win the division.
And the Bengals are a young team that, you know,
They remember
they're
it,
driven.
believe me.
They're driven. They're
Believe
driven.
me,
If you watch that Hard Knocks.
I remember it because I had the money line on the Bengals in that game, and believe me, the look of disappointment that the Bengals players had when they walked off the
was
field
worse than yours.
No, it paled in comparison to my look, but they were still upset.
You sure this isn't a Steve Fezzik revenge situation here that you're getting all excited?
I'm getting the money back.
All right.
Right
Somehow or some way.
I don't, as
One way or
long as the
another.
punt doesn't ricochet off that scoreboard.
Might need a gun, but
and
he's
everything
getting that
goes
money back.
according to
I agree, though.
plan.
Dallas hasn't been relevant in
We're going to
in
win.
a long time.
We're going to break it out with the Meat Lovers Pizza at Domino's, and I'm buying, gentlemen. Okay.
Yeah, how many times do you actually come through with one of these on buy-ins?
Yeah, boozing.
How many
and
lunches have you-
Boozing and losing. If you're listening, I'll get to you one day. I got Alfie. I'll get to you one day. Hey, stay with us at pregame.tv. We are going to be breaking down big news here. We have an upcoming seminar going on in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Hilton. Jay Cornegay, his crack team, Ed Sherman, and everyone else, Jeff Sherman. And Ed Salmon's over there, and we are just super excited about that. I'm going to be on a panel with Mitch Moss, and we're going to be talking all about that. Stay with us, pregame.tv.
That was.